Now, our first topic for today's discussion is inspired from this article which appeared on the page number 15 of Indian Express. Now, this article is particularly regarding some renewable energy companies who are registered as SEZs, right? So, what happens is that these renewable energy companies, if they are producing green hydrogen and if they produce green hydrogen for their own consumption, right, then these companies are not given any financial benefits. Okay. But if these renewable energy companies are producing green hydrogen for export purposes, then in that case they are given some financial benefits, right? So this news article is regarding that under the new SEZ rules, the renewable energy companies who are producing green hydrogen for their internal use also, and they are also eligible to get financial compensation from the government, okay, or some kind of financial benefits from the government. Now this news may not be that important for UPSC perspective, but for from this article we have framed a question on hydrogen, regarding the types of hydrogen, right? As in the year 2015 we saw a question which was regarding fuel cells and particularly regarding hydrogen fuel cells, right? So let's solve this question, which says that consider the following pairs. These are different types of hydrogen and you have to match these pairs with their sources. Now, before solving this question, let's understand a few points regarding hydrogen. So what is hydrogen? Hydrogen is an energy fuel, and if we talk about green hydrogen, it can offer a major alternative to polluting fossil fuels, right? So hydrogen is an energy fuel. And how is hydrogen produced? Hydrogen can be produced through various processes. Earlier it was produced, or majority of hydrogen is still produced by the process of gasification, right? By the process of gasification. And in this process can take place with the help of coal, with the help of natural gas. And in this process, coal is gasified, and in that the outcome is certain gases like CO2, carbon monoxide, and along with this, hydrogen is also produced. But this kind of hydrogen, which is produced through gasification process, this is not environment friendly, right? Because along with the hydrogen, we get many greenhouse or polluting gases, right? So there is an alternative method which is electrolysis of water. So electrolysis of water, this is a method by which the molecule of water, by the use of energy, or simply you can see this diagram here, by the passes of current, this water molecule can be broken down into its constituents, that is hydrogen and oxygen, right? So in this manner, hydrogen can be produced, and this hydrogen can be stored for commercial use, right? But what is the energy source used here? Such sources, based depending on the sources through which hydrogen can be produced, hydrogen can be classified into various types. So now let's see what are the types of hydrogen based on the energy source. The first kind of hydrogen is black hydrogen. So this is a kind of hydrogen which is produced in gasification process, and the source used here is bituminous coal or black coal, right? Another type of hydrogen is brown hydrogen. So this is the kind of hydrogen which is also produced through gasification process, but the source here is lignite coal, okay, or brown coal. And the third type of hydrogen is gray hydrogen, and the source here is natural gas. Instead of coal, this is produced through a process using natural gas, right? And in all these processes, the associated emissions are released in the air. That's why this kind of hydrogen is not clean fuel, right? Now there is other type of hydrogen which is known as blue hydrogen. Now what is this hydrogen? This is also produced, the source here is natural gas, but the carbon emissions which are associated in the production, these are captured and stored underground by the process called carbon capture and storage. And this is the process which we are going to see further in the article related to COP28, right? So as this carbon is stored, that's why this is a cleaner alternative as compared to the above, as compared to black hydrogen, brown hydrogen and gray hydrogen, right? Apart from this, there is a pink hydrogen. Pink hydrogen, this is produced by the process of electrolysis, which we discussed earlier. That is a passage of current to produce hydrogen, passes of current in water to produce hydrogen and oxygen, right? So under this process of electrolysis, the energy source is nuclear power, right? And as you know, nuclear energy is a clean energy, so this does not produce any kind of carbon dioxide emissions, right? And another type of hydrogen, which is a viable alternative to fossil fuels, is green hydrogen, right? So green hydrogen is produced through electrolysis, and this is used through, and the energy source here is renewable power. That is the renewable power, say from winds, say from solar, so, any kind of renewable energy. If that is the source for electrolysis of water, and the hydrogen thus produced is known as green hydrogen. Other kind of hydrogen is yellow hydrogen, and this is produced through electrolysis of water using solar power. Green hydrogen is produced using renewable energy, right? And another kind of hydrogen is turquoise hydrogen, and such kind of hydrogen is produced by methane pyrolysis or by splitting of methane. Technically, this is a methane molecule, and under this process, methane is splitted into hydrogen, right? If I balance this equation, so hydrogen and the byproducts are hydrogen and solid carbon, right? So in this kind of hydrogen is known as turquoise hydrogen, right? So now these are the types of hydrogen which you need to remember, right? Now based on this information, let us solve this practice question. Our practice question says that we have to match these sources. So the first question, the first option is black hydrogen. Is it produced from fossil fuels? Yes, as coal is also a kind of fossil fuel, right? Pink hydrogen, is it produced from methane pyrolysis? This is wrong, because this is produced through this nuclear power, right? So this is incorrect. Turquoise hydrogen, this is produced through methane pyrolysis, right? This is also incorrect. And green hydrogen, renewable sources, this is correct, right? So how many pairs are correctly matched? The answer is B, as only 2 pairs are correctly matched. Now let's move on to our next topic for today's discussion. This is regarding this article which appeared on page number 15 of Indian Express. Now the contents of this article are not that important for you, but from this article we have framed a question on EPFO, which is an important statutory organization, right? So now why we have taken this question is because UPSC asks questions regarding various constitutional bodies, non-constitutional bodies, regarding various statutory bodies which are important statutory bodies, right? For example, in the year 2022, we found this question which was on T-board, right? Now let's solve a question regarding EPFO. But before solving this question, let's see a few facts regarding EPFO, right? So EPFO is a statutory organization which was formed through, as the full form of EPFO is Employee Provident Fund Organization, right? So it was formed through Employee Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Act of 1952, right? It was formed in 1952 through this act, right? So what is the function of EPFO? The function of EPFO is regulation and management of some. EPFO is an important social security organization in the country. It can be included as one of the largest social security organization of the world, right? So what is the function of EPFO? It is to regulate and manage certain social security scheme, and this is provided, these scheme or these facilities are only provided to organized workers, right? These schemes are Employee Provident Fund, right? Employee Pensions Scheme, Employee Insurance. So these are some of the services which are provided by EPFO, right? And EPFO, and so who are the stakeholders in EPFO? Now, to provide these services, the first stakeholder is government, right? And if we talk about government, both central government as well as state government, right? So first stakeholder. Who is the second stakeholder? The employer, who is employing the organized workers, right? Who is the third stakeholder? The third stakeholders are employees who are working in any organized institution, right? So these three are the stakeholders. Now let's end. EPFO is under the Ministry of Labor and Environment and Employment. Sorry. Now, based on this information, let's solve this practice question, right? Now, this question says the act and schemes framed by EPFO are administered by a central board of trustees consisting of representatives from central and state government only. Now, see, this statement is incorrect because I told you that there are three stakeholders. Apart from central and state governments, the central board of trustees of EPFO consists of employer as well as employees, right? So any act and scheme are framed by EPFO by consultation through all these stakeholders. So this is an incorrect statement. Now let's move on to our second statement, which says that the board operates pension and insurance schemes for the workforce engaged in the organized sector in India. Now this is a correct statement. The third statement says that the organization is under the administrative control of Ministry of Finance. Now this is an incorrect statement as it is under the Ministry of Labor and Employment, right? Now as the question asked, how many of the statements given above is or are correct? The correct answer would be only one, right? Now let's move on to our third question for the day. Now this is regarding a security lapse in the Parliament yesterday, right? So generally, to avoid such kind of security breaches or security lapse, there is a parliamentary committee on security, right? So this is kind of ad hoc committee, okay? Ad hoc committee, and means these are such kind of committees which are formed for a particular period of time, right? And to inquire into some special instances, right? And if we talk about Parliamentary Committee of Security, so this is a joint parliamentary committee. Joint parliamentary committee means as Parliament is central, and it comprises of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and President also, but as it comprises of two houses, right? Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. That's why any committee to oversee the security of parliamentary, the members of parliament, the other staff which is employed in the parliament, or in general to ensure the safe proceedings of the parliament, there is a committee for it, right? So it is a joint parliamentary committee that has members both from Rajya Sabha as well as Lok Sabha, right? And this committee, what does it do? It frames the guidelines on the security of members of parliament, staffs of parliament, and to ensure the smooth functioning or safe functioning of the parliament, right? So this joint parliamentary committee is headed by the Speaker of Lok Sabha, okay? So this is the basic information regarding the Parliamentary Committee on Security. But the news article is that there should be a Parliamentary Committee on Security, but since last 5 years, this committee is defunct. That is, no such committee has been constituted, right? So this is the crux of this article, right? Now, based on this information, now why we have taken this question is that because UPSC generally asks questions regarding various parliamentary procedures, right? Now, let us solve this practice question. The question says that with reference to the security of parliamentary complex, consider the following statements. The first statement says, each house of the parliament has its own security committee, consisting exclusively of its own members. Now, this is an incorrect statement. As we saw earlier, there is a joint parliamentary committee which consists of members from both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, right? So there is not a separate security committee. The second statement says that in the Lok Sabha, the committee is headed by a speaker, and in the Rajya Sabha, it is headed by a chairman. Again, this is an incorrect statement because there is just one joint parliamentary committee, and this is headed by the Speaker of Lok Sabha. So both of these statements are incorrect, right? The answer would be neither one nor two. Let's proceed further to our final MCQ for the day. This is regarding RoDTEP scheme, right? that is remission of duties and taxes on export products. Now, as the name itself suggests, remission of duties and taxes on export products. So, this is a kind of scheme which is regarding the promotion of exports, right? It is an export promotion scheme in the country. And this article is important for us for the external sector, for questions regarding the export or external sector in economy, right? As in the year 2023, we found this particular question, right? Now, before we, we have framed a question on this scheme, but before we know this, we solve this question, let us see a few basics regarding these schemes, right? Now, as this is a scheme on remission of duties and taxes on export products, right? So, it is an export promotion scheme. Now, think how the exports of a country can be promoted if the duties and taxes on that product is lower, right? In that sense only, that product would be competitive in the global markets, right? So, in order to make Indian exports competitive in global market, there is one such scheme. So, there should be remission of some duties and taxes. But one thing, if you should note that the GST, which is goods and services tax on export products, is in 0% slab, right? So already if GST is 0% in export products, so what are those taxes we are talking about here? What are those taxes which are being remitted under this scheme, right? So this is a question which one should think, that what are these other taxes, because GST is already 0. So these are some hidden taxes. Now generally what happens is that whenever a good or whenever any good is manufactured, right from the manufacturing state to the transportation state for import, okay, to the ports or to the final facility for export, right? In that process of manufacturing and the process of transportation, there are certain taxes which are not covered under GST. What are these taxes? These taxes can be local taxes, state taxes, as well as central taxes. Now, for example, local taxes, we can say there can be a mandi tax in case it is an agricultural good, right? There can be a mandi tax on it. And if we talk about other taxes, say there can be a toll tax, right? In transportation, there can be VAT. In the production, if it is coal based, there can be a coal cess, right? So these are certain kind of taxes which are not under GST, right? So that's why in order to remit these hidden taxes, there is a scheme for export promotion. So one thing is clear, that to remit these schemes, this scheme remits these particular taxes, right? Now, the other thing is that, okay, if the taxes are being remitted, how is the compensation being given to these people, to the exporters? How is the compensation being given to them? The thing is that the exporters are not given compensation in money, right? They are given compensation in terms of some duty scripts. So what is duty scripts? Duty scripts is a kind of receipt. This is a kind of receipt which is given to the exporters. Now, these exporters, either they can use this receipt in case if they are importing any product and they have to give custom duty on that product. In that case, in condition of import, they can use this duty script, right? Or either what they can do, if they are just exporters, they don't import anything, they can sell their duty script to any other importer, right? So one important thing to note is that these duty scripts, these are transferable. That is, one exporter can either encash it, right? They can sell it, they can use it by themselves, or they can encash it by selling it to other importers, right? So these scripts are transferable. So these are the important points which one should know about this scheme. Okay. Now, as we have learned about this scheme, so let us solve this practice question. This practice question says that the scheme provides for refund of all direct and indirect taxes imposed at center, state, local level in the form of duty scripts. So this statement will become incorrect. This is because it does not give refund for all kind of direct and indirect taxes, but because some kind of indirect taxes can also be included in GST, right? But this can only give rebate from these hidden taxes, right? Not all kind of direct and indirect taxes. That's why the statement becomes incorrect, right? And yes, this scheme provides refund in form of duty scripts. First statement is incorrect. Now second statement, the duty scripts are non-transferable. Now this is also incorrect, as these duty scripts are transferable, as we already discussed. The third thing is, the duty scripts can be used for the payment of only the basic customs duty. Now this is a correct statement. As I already told you that any exporter can use this duty script in case he imports something, and in that import he has to give basic customs duty. In that scenario he can use this duty script, right? So this is a correct statement. Now we have to select the correct answer using the codes given below. So the correct answer would be B, 3 only, right? Now we have seen our prelims questions.